Welcome to Talking in Stations. This is Matterall. I'm here with Rundle. How you doing, Rundle?
Doing good, Matterall. How are you doing today?
Real good. We're going to talk some EVE Online today. Had some interesting bits of news come in late last night. We'll talk about how the Goonswarm name was recaptured by NCdot, aka Bob. We'll talk about some of the history and even mechanics of naming when we talk about that. Also today, Keepstar in ZXB, I believe, was taken out by Pappy. That is the first of more we expect. Keepstars this month. It's going to be a bloody month for structures in Delve.
For sure. ZXB for those of you who speak regular English.
All right, so I'm going to pop up that screen here in just a second, and we'll get looking at all the things. Where is that? Sorry, I'm using a laptop, so I have very little real estate, and so things take a second to grab.
No problem, no problem.
All right, there we go. Let's share that up. Okay, taking a look at Delve here. Let's start with the news of the Keepstar that was taken out today. Oh, one other thing, there's a Keepstar that was put down today. We'll cover that as well. So here you are in Delve. As you know, it's under siege. And the system where the Keepstar was destroyed was ZXB, or ZXB. And yeah, that's a good way to put it. And that's a pretty important Keepstar. It was undefended. It went down in about 30 minutes to pretty good sized group. We have a D-scan here. 210 Titans, 161 super carriers. That was the majority of the damage, but you also had some subcap fleets in there as well.
Yeah, and that's the exit system from Delve into Fountain. So that's a bit of an important system.
Yeah, it's, this thing didn't have a core in it, and it looks like the rigs were either non-existent or pulled, one of the two. Still came up to 158 billion. That's actually a small number. They're usually about 180 to 210 billion, and that's just to build the Keepstar itself without any of the fittings. So again, the market doesn't really reflect the actual value of this structure.
Yep.
All right, so that's what took it out. And let's go back to the map again. So one of the reasons this is an important Keepstar is that it is, first of all, it's a, what do they call it?
Regional gate.
Yeah, no, there's a, yes, but there's Lord of the Rings. It's one of the Black Keepstars or something. Black Gate.
For yeah.
I don't know what
part of that Helm's Deep organization where they called it the Black Gate or something like
That's
that.
That's it, the Black Gate. I think that sounds right. Gate. Yeah. So what this means is, forget the Black Gate. That's just like funny talk, but it is a regional gate. And so as you can see, if you're coming down from Fountain, here's Fountain. There is no way that from this point here, YTAC Z, let's see if I can tap it. Nope, can't. You can jump to Delve. You have to cross this long gate. This is a regional gate. And that gets you into Delve proper. And if you were to land in this system from here, you can actually jump to all kinds of different places in Delve. So that's why it's an important system to hold, and to be able to have a capital ship, or sorry, a capital fleet there. That's just a really strong defense for that entire region. You're blocking the gate there. Yeah. But I think the big deal here is this is one of the escape routes for Imperium if they wanted to leave.
That's right. That's right. It's also a system in the same constellation as M2 TAC, where M2 was just that fight just escalated, but because they decided to make the choices they did, it allowed Pappy to go and finish taking out the rest of that entire constellation, including ZXB, and gaining that regional gate kind of ownership of that and that evac route. So going to make it very difficult to get out now on some, at least in that path, anyways.
Yeah, again, Imperium said they're not going to leave, but should they have wanted to, this was one of the Keepstars would have needed to jump to get into Fountain and then out somewhere else. Funny thing is, everything in Delve really gets asset safetied, which is another way out, but it's going to cost you 15% of your value. So a Titan at say 100 billion is going to cost you 15 billion to asset safety it out, and then you're going to be in Ermelin, and that Ermelin I think is up here somewhere, and that is going to, I'm never going to find it this way, but I just thought I'd take a quick look.
Yeah, it's in Iridia somewhere there.
Yeah, but that puts you in Iridia. It's a dangerous place to be unless you're all together moving out together, because Losecchia lives in Iridia and they patrol that place pretty well for capital ships. So asset safetying out doesn't mean you're going to get out safely. It means you can have your stuff in Losec and store it there, but getting out of there, not going to be easy. Yeah, I think there's one other way out. That's through Aquarius. GOP, I think, right here. You see that little peak at the top? That's the other way out. And that one's coming under attack in the next 2 weeks, I think. So we'll see what happens there as that iHub matures to 30 days.
Yep.
All right, so that was the first piece of news. Keepstar down for Imperium. We expect more. That was undefended. We expect the other ones not really to be defended. The Imperium looks like they want to stay in 1DQ and just hold out there as long as they can. They literally want to go down with the ship, let's say. Delve being the ship and they being the captain. So we'll see what happens. What do you think is going to happen, Rundle?
Well, I think they're in an interesting position. I think they're setting themselves up for a really good final battle. They have always said they just want to keep fighting and have good fights for their memberships. Try and escalate some cap fights. I think one of the strategies in the 1DQ area is just, especially post M2, is just to hold the grid numerically to make it almost impossible to come in anyways. So with that, you can kind of play a couple games, right? You can kind of play this jump in, punch, move back sort of game where you just keep having fights. And I think, they're just attempting to drain the time and the energy. That's their strategy, and I think they're sticking to it. The Hell Camp was a good example of that. Pulling back to 1DQ is another example. I don't think they're going to be able to change that strategy now. So they're going to just have to ride it all the way to the end. And if it works, we'll see.
Yeah. All right. So the 1DQ is going to be, the Siege of 1DQ is going to be probably in a couple months. They'll start that because I think there's a ton of Keepstars to kill inside of Delve. Delve was known for Keepstars. I think it had upwards of 60 Keepstars.
Yeah.
Some came down. Yeah. Some got stolen. Some got blown up. A few have been destroyed already. One SMEB was only a few days ago. I think one SMEB's up here somewhere. There it is. Yeah, on the way to Iridia. And so there's still at least 30, 40 to go. At least 40, I think. There might be. There's a list, actually. I think we can find it. I'll try to find it later in the show.
Okay.
Yeah. There's the Doomsday Clock, I think, has all the Keepstars in Delve. Oh, that's right. A lot of Keepstars were actually in Aquarius and Period Basis, and a lot of those have been removed. So if the number was about 60 before, I think it's already down to somewhere like 40, 45. And 20, 10 or 20, is it 12 or 20 of those are slated for the next month? Like all those iHubs mature. So we're going to see an accelerating rhythm or cadence of destruction for Keepstars.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
They've been give Imperium credit due. They have been picking their fights and defending only when it makes sense, and just kind of sticking to their game plan. And the general player is not doing what some people think they would be doing, which is crumbling and just kind of going to high sec. So they're sticking in there. So credit to them. It's a lot of fun for me, at least as a player on the other side. There's always something to do. That's, I think, the greatest benefit for most players is, man, there's been a lot to do for the last 6 months.
Yeah.
That's really.
Have you been hearing that like Imperium guys have been saying like, hey, we're having a great time. We're having great fights. It's been a good time. I've heard that in the past. Have you?
Yeah, there. It depends on who you're talking to, and but overall, yes, that's generally what I've been hearing. The whole, they're just sitting around doing nothing. That's in some cases that is true. When you're running a hell camp, sometimes you are just sitting around, but you get just like anything else in Eve, right? You get bursts of excitement followed by planning and moments of have fun with your friends, and so it's happening on both sides. I think the pace on the Pappy side is a little higher because there's more active targets, and the strategy for the Imperium is to kind of pick their fights. But they're showing up when they choose to pick a fight. They're showing up, and they're doing pretty good when they do.
Yeah. And I'm wondering, I used to hear that a lot. Do you hear that still? Are people still having a good time? Because they are down to one constellation, I believe.
Yeah.
And so that's got to feel a little different than before. Let's actually look at the map.
Yeah, I'm still hearing that with
Mhm.
the Imperium folks that I interact with. They're saying they just have adapted, and some aspects of their gameplay have moved. I am hearing that some people are like, well, I'll just spend some time over in low sec or high sec or wherever they've chosen to kind of relocate for some of their day to day stuff. But when it comes to the delve aspect of it and the war, they're saying they're having fun with it. Now, I'm not a mind reader at the end of the day. So is that just them saying what they feel they need to say? I don't think so. Some of the people are pretty genuine, right? And just, yeah, I'm having fun. They're on the other side, and I see them in space. They see me in space, and I know they're there. So I have no reason to not believe that they're not having
Yeah,
fun on the other side.
you're on the Pappy side of things?
I am on the Pappy side of things. Yes.
Oh, okay. Who are you with? I forgot.
AARP. I'm part of Legacy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So so I was thinking that they haven't really, I was telling Caleb this, we talk about this every day pretty much, but like I was saying, they hadn't really felt the pain when Delve was getting destroyed because they were having a good time. It wasn't affecting them. I think they still felt safe. I think they still feel safe inside of 1DQ. But over the next few days, when the Keepstars start going down, I think the idea will solidify that they are now in one system, basically. I know they have a constellation here, but that will probably deteriorate down to one system since that's what's going to be vigorously defended, not the whole constellation.
Yeah.
At some point, I think they will. I don't think they're going to cut and run or look around and say it's time to get out of here. But at some point, it sinks in. Wow, we're really losing this war because I've been through 2 or 3 times losing Sov, and there is a certain like depression that kind of sets in when you know your team's losing all their stuff, and you start feeling less safe. And at some point, you think like, well, we're almost out of road here. What's going to happen next?
Yeah. I think they just kind of ended the M2 camp. That was kind of a thing to do, had purpose, right? And
Yeah.
now they got to wait and watch the rest of the the Keepstars come out of timers, and what will happen, what won't happen, will we fight, won't we fight, and then they know where the next element is going to happen, like you keep saying in 1DQ, that whole constellation. And so at some point, they're going to have some real decisions to make as an individual player and as corporations and an alliance. And I think the answers that I'm getting, like I said, where some of the people that I know are like, well, I'm going and doing other things. Generally, there is not a lot of, in the past, not a lot of that answer of, well, I'll just go do my thing in high sec. That's not been happening a lot.
Yeah.
So, maybe that's the answer, is what I'm actually really hearing is, yeah, I'm starting to kind of make sure I got other things to do, because if I don't do these other things, then I'm going to be SOL, shit out of luck when it comes to my gameplay on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of Imperium guys that I talk to just kind of don't want to talk about the war anymore. Like they're kind of, it's like they've kind of moved on, or I think they want their head to be in a different place. And so this is what makes me feel like the pressure is really on now. And going forward, I think it's going to get worse, if not at a certain point. They're like, I
And
don't want to think about the game, basically.
yeah, and it could be the type of people I talk to in general, the people I have access to. They're feverishly Imperium, right? And they like PvP and they like this kind of battling. The same as me, right? So
Mhm.
if I was on the, if I'm, I try to look at it from, okay, if I'm on a Imperium side, I'm getting, kind of squished down to a constellation, all these other things. I, at on some level, what does one individual pilot? How do I really impact that, other than just doing what I can do and showing up? I mean, I'm still just one pilot, um, so I'm not going to be able to individually stem the tide of the war. But what I can do is show up to all the fights, be available to play, and if I really enjoy that kind of gameplay, then I'm still enjoying myself, because stay, go, get wiped off the map, rebound and retake all of Delve, it doesn't matter. The thing that I like doing is what I'm doing. I'm PvPing. I'm fighting, medium to large gang fights, maybe some smaller gang stuff, punch and
Mhm.
run. That's what I like out of my gameplay. And so I do know a lot of the people I talk to are kind of very invested PvP pilots. Maybe what you're hearing is on on the industry side, on the miners and the different the ratting folks, that maybe they're like, oh, man, I just can't play the way I like to play. And I think that's where the cracks will form first, not on the
Mhm.
PvP side. Like, why would it, right? Because
Yeah.
this is what you log into the game to do.
I think that was the original idea of constriction, was to take away all that kind of gameplay and make it
Yes.
unfun to be in the Imperium. And the idea was, and it was not true, so the numbers have reported that this would make them peel off and go away and leave the Imperium because that's all they were there for. That hasn't been the case. There's a lot of people who believe in the mission and the culture and the community of the Imperium that are sticking around way past any point of their ratting ability being taken away from them. So the constriction didn't play out the way it was supposed to, I think, originally, or we misunderstood it, and it really doesn't happen until now, when everything's like Helm's Deep is gone. There's no ratting going on there.
Yeah.
And you're not doing much ratting in this one constellation, and really you're just getting constricted into this one DQ area. It's all war footing now. There's not a lot of fun. So who sticks around? They have a lot of people sticking around, if that's the question.
Their numbers are still pretty high for sure.
Yeah. All right. Something else happened that was kind of funny. And they're also not losing all these fights because NCdot brought a bunch of, I think it was dreadnoughts into the system. It was a little bit of a birthday roam or something. And there was some miscommunication in NCdot. And I think it was Lucius James, if I'm not mistaken. He goes by O'Keefe or something. It was an FC, and he actually pinged for reinforcements because they saw an opportunity to take on some Goonswarm that were attacking those dreads. Now, the dreads were like, these are suicide dreads. They're just for fun, and they're going to get blown up. But when Goonswarm formed against them, NC formed, and it was a debacle. NC lost not only the dreads, but they lost a bunch of stuff beyond that. And they all got yelled at because you're essentially feeding Goonswarm in their own system. It's very convenient. It's fun. They won the fight. That's all very uplifting. And so they got a good yelling at from their leaders in NCdot for doing that sort of a thing. Don't be flippant about this. You want to deprive them of fun, not bring it to their doorstep. What do you think of that?
Yeah. I mean, from the very beginning, right? If you listen to the Pappy leadership, people like Billy for sure, right? He said more than once, tell me what either tell me what you are enjoying, Imperium, or let me look at what you enjoy and let me take the joy away from you. So to go and feed such a large, fight to them for really not a strategic reason, um, I think they're, Pappy, NCdot is within their, I guess, current right frame of mind to be able to say those sorts of things. Um, you know, it's not uncommon for leadership to foo on throwaway kills, whether it's a single super carrier or a whole fleet of dreads, right? Um,
Yeah.
yeah, those two super carriers the last week, right? I'm sure those guys got yelled at a little bit, right? Same reason.
Yeah, that FC Keith Dro is Lucian James. That's an alt. But Lucian
Right.
James, you might know him. He did. Are you familiar with Lucian James?
I have heard the name, yes.
Yeah. He's on a podcast. He's a hilarious guy, super funny, a little bit crazy and zany and fun. So I'm sure it was all in fun and stuff. But right now, it's like serious business for NC. They don't want to lose stuff if they don't have to.
Especially, I think they were responsible for the 2 vendettas, right? Last week, specifically.
Yeah.
That's why I'm bringing those up.
They've been doing all
Right?
kinds of stuff. They got the 2 vendettas the other day. They dread bombed before that, I think, and got something else. They've been picking people off by luring them into fleets and dragging them off, things like that. But they also are the ones that kidnapped one of the Keepstars that was taken down in what system was that? They destroyed a Keepstar in I think K6, KTAC6 and WK TAC K. I think those 2 systems had Keepstars. One was destroyed while it was trying to be freighters out, and the other one they actually just stole. So,
Yeah, I remember that. I don't remember the system. You better memory than me. I've slept since then, but yeah, I remember that. But that's, all that in context, right? You're doing all these things even from a play style and a kill board sense. You get these vendettas, you do all this stuff, and then you just feed a bunch of dreads. I can see if I'm in leadership that I'm like not too happy about that. Like, you could have at least given yourself a bit more of a winnable situation where, instead of just feeding the whole pile to the Imperium.
So. Right. So there's that. A little bit of excitement for Imperium. Good for them. The Keepstar down. Now, the big news that came in yesterday was that Goonswarm Federation, the actual, this is Goonswarm Federation Condi. This is the actual one. I don't know why this one's up. Let's go here.
That's who they are now. That's the current one.
Yeah. That's the proper Goonswarm now. But Goonswarm, the original name, was actually picked off by, let's go to that one. This is kind of funny. Okay, so here's Goonswarm. It's the ticker is Goons. This is not necessarily the original. See, it was just formed like a few days ago, and it was picked off by basically NCdot. So this will be given to SirMolle, and he'll own the name Goons, which is a proper trade because Goonswarm actually owns the name Bob. The Alliance Band of Brothers is held by Goonswarm as a little trophy. So this actually belonged to this Goonswarm name was when Goonswarm fell apart. Oh, I think it was. Let's see. It closed in. Let's take a look. Oh no, this one just actually closed right now, but it was about 2010. Goonswarm was betrayed by their own leader, basically Cartoon, and Cartoon handed it over to Penis Smash. Penis Smash and his corporation moved to Pandemic Legion. So for a long time, Pandemic Legion actually owned the name Goonswarm, right? He took it. But he has switched back since then. I think he went to Snuffed Out for a short time, and then now he is back in Goonswarm for this war, or his corporation is. And somebody let the bill lapse. So Goonswarm was able to be purchased and used again by somebody else. And as you can see, it lapsed like a few days. It was February 26th when it finally lapsed and became free, and somebody snatched it up.
Today.
Yeah. Was that today, the 8th? Yeah.
Just earlier today. Yeah. Earlier today, Eve time. So.
Right. They called it Goons instead of Oh God. So the ticker's wrong. But I think they wanted to emphasize the point that it is the original Goonswarm.
So if you go back, there, maybe, just to guess on something they're thinking. If you go down and look at that corporation, that Goonswarm Alliance Corporation, that name was Goons. If you just go back.
Let's go back. Okay.
Yeah. See, down 2 from there. So see the actual corporation. No, down.
Oh, Goonswarm
right
Alliance.
There, yes.
Yeah.
And it was called Goons, right? And so...
Oh, interesting, yeah.
Right, and then the first one, I think, which was closed, which was a Goonswarm Federation dot. They had tried to, do a bastardized Goons, GEWNS, or Z. And so I'm wondering if maybe somewhere in there they were thinking, all right, I'm going to just kind of recreate what they probably really wanted the very first time in the game, which would have been Goonswarm and Goons as a title. That'd be my guess, right?
Yeah.
They probably tried.
That makes sense. They put the two things together, the corporation and the yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's what I would think.
that was kind of funny. I was comparing notes with someone, and here's the two together. You can see that on the left is the one that is the original one, I suppose, and the one on the right is the brand new one, and the ticker is different. So it would have been more meaningful to get this exactly right. But I think
so. I
think also that they were probably overthinking it and did what you said. So why is this important?
Well, why is it important?
Yeah.
A little moral victory, right? There's always little ways you can use something like that. I mean, heck, to even unsuspecting players, you could set up certainly a fantastic, little, I don't want to say a spy network. What's what I'm looking for? Where a scamming network, right? They're not quite sure. Someone comes knocking that has this Goonswarm. Maybe they can use it for evil. But there's just this history, right? Eve has a very long history. Players have been playing for a very long time, and so there's just a bit of tongue-in-cheek fun that goes along with stuff like this.
Yeah.
I find this sort of stuff for me fascinating. That someone sat around. If I understand this, it elapsed right back on the 26th.
Yeah.
So couple weeks, right? And I don't think there's tools like where you can watch. Like someone was just paying attention enough to go, oh yeah, hey, look, and I can create it.
Well,
Right? It costs them some ISK.
yeah.
It costs them some ISK to do it. And
well, here's the thing. I thought, is somebody just constantly testing the name Goonswarm? Can I have it? And because it doesn't give you an alert that the name is available,
right.
It just lapses. So how did they figure it out? And that's what I wanted to know. So it looks like what happened is one of the alts inside Good Posting Academy, again, that's the founding corporation for the old Goonswarm name, was destroyed, and there was no alliance listed there. You see how that's vacant?
Yes. So maybe someone noticed.
Yes. So somebody noticed that and said, wait a minute, why isn't that name there? Because they knew they'd killed an alt of Peanut Smash or somebody else that was in his corporation. And so when that was missing, they said, let's test that out.
Yeah, because that is in Delph.
Yep.
Yeah, that kill was in Delph. And honestly, when we were talking about this earlier, and even while I was reading about it today, I honestly was completely oblivious to this entire mechanic. I honestly thought when you created a name and a ticker that it was kind of immutable in a programming, using a programming term, where once it's there, you can't change it. You can't take it back over. You can't alter it. You can't edit it. I mean, nothing. It is. And so I was quite, I don't know, surprised really to find that. What do you mean you can steal names like this? I guess I'd never really understood. I always thought that's where the dot came from. When I heard stories about the Goon, the name being taken before, what I thought meant was someone was in alliance and they took ownership and kicked everyone, and then this is mine, sort of thing, like the classic way in which you would steal something in Eve at an alliance or at a corp level, where you would become the executor and you would just kick and remove everyone, and then it's yours. And now what do you do, right? That sort of thing.
Yeah, I think the key, speaking in database terms, the key field is the name Goonswarm. So I don't think it's cap sensitive either, but I may be wrong. But that's what's identical, right? Goonswarm and Goonswarm's identical, even the capital S for swarm. And then the ticker must be something that you can't just make up whenever you create.
Right.
But you're right. I thought once it's created, it can't be uncreated in any way.
Yeah.
So.
But they had used "Oh God" a couple other times previously too, right? So I guess, like I said, congratulations to whoever figured this out. Or if there's a whole subculture of Eve players, walking around, playing the game, trying to figure out how can I steal someone's name of any kind, player, corporate alliance. I'm like, I was actually just fascinated by the story of it. Like, it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's, is there you asked earlier, is there any significance? I don't think anyone's going to, win a war because of it. No one's going to quit the game because of it. You could find you're on the wrong end of a scam by the wrong Goonswarm. I think that's possible. Is it going to cause an uproar? I mean, there's a little bit of a, hey, NCdot, if it's them who got it, and, poo-poo on you.
Yeah, it's a
kind of a
little
little minor moral
propaganda.
victory.
I think it
Yeah, propaganda,
could be
moral victory
used
sort of thing.
for memeing and actually scamming, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because you have the official alliance with the official name, and somebody sees that, they'll be like, well, that looks legitimate. So there's a few possibilities to weaponize it, but really what happens is it's a trophy. They got this trophy.
That's right.
And it helps because SirMolle, again, is going to inherit this, apparently, according to Lady Scarlet, who's the original executor of Bob. And Goonswarm has always had Bob. When their director betrayed them, they captured the name because they dropped the name, disbanded the alliance, I think, and then they quickly created the Bob Alliance, taking it away from their enemy. So not only their enemy lose all their space, but they also lost their name. And that was a trophy that Goonswarm had back in 2009. So for this to happen, it's kind of a long bookend, right? Talking 11 years later, finally, they get a chance to do the same thing, and they do.
That's
So,
right. I would love to find, if someone, if in the audience is listening, they know the person or the people who really did this. I guess someone in the incursion, attack, evasion, Hedera Bank, or something like that. Personally, I think it would be fascinating to have them on to really find out the backstory. Like, have they been sitting around for 10, 12 years waiting for this? Like, are they or was it just like, holy shit, happenstance, like you said, like it was just a kill, and like, oh my god, we got to act. I think that story would be really cool to hear if anyone knows those people and want to
yeah,
maybe get them.
I'm pretty sure it was a kill, and then like, oh, that opportunity's opened up, but you had to know to look for it because you had to know who that was. I'll tell you what else happened, and this was in 2016. We were reminded of all this because the Goonswarm name was, I think, held by Peanut Smash. Again, he was part of Pandemic Legion at the time, and this is like World War B era, right? Or Casino War, whatever you want to consider it. 2015, a lot of the same stuff's happening then that's happening now. A lot of different groups are coming against the Imperium and dislodging them from space. And what happens in the middle of that fight is that I believe Peanut Smash wants to give the name to Darius Johnson, who's come back to the game. Now, Darius Johnson is an old leader of Goonswarm, and he's come back, and he's not really friendly with Goonswarm anymore because they had a falling out or whatever. And so he wants to start a corporation. He wants the name back. And I think it was CCP Falcon, I think. No, former CCP Falcon. He's no longer there. Said, yeah, that looks like a fair thing to do, so we'll give the name to the old leader of Goonswarm, who at the time is an enemy of the Imperium's Goonswarm, or at least not part of them. And that was just seen as incredibly controversial because, first of all, it was CCP intervening in like what could be considered politics, even though it was petitioned as a player, saying, hey, I'm the leader of that group. It's been a long time. That thing has been encased. I have a right to it. And I think Peanut Smash was willing to give it to him. I'm not sure. But it ended up causing a database problem because everybody that was in Goonswarm before was actually given some generic like Keldari Alliance number 52 or something like that, something very generic. And people said, hey, you're erasing my history. This is BS. And so CCP had to go back and fix it all, clean it up and say, yeah, we can't transfer that. So that name is locked. Yeah. So it did come up again in 2015. And now here it is in 2021.
Yeah, it's that sort of statement, like you just said at the end there, that name is locked. I remember reading about that. I wasn't doing any podcasting at that time, but I do remember reading that. And like, it's just, hey, these things are locked. These things are locked. Like, sorry, we can't move these things around. Like they're just not transferable, folks. But I don't know. I learn something new every day in this game. Still,
yeah. Guess
17 years later,
if you don't pay, it gets unlocked.
Yeah.
All right. That's the news that we had today. There's a few other things that we found, although I don't have graphics for it. So,
you said a Keepstar was dropped, and I actually don't know anything about that. So.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for reminding me. So let's take a look at the map again. We'll go to the actual universe map. Keepstar was dropped by test in the period basis area. I believe it's right around here at the top of period basis, LTAC Y. And that will give them regional control over a lot of this area down here. let's see if we tap on that. Boy, you have to be very precise. So yeah, in here is a new Keepstar. So that's the third Keepstar in the area. Actually, maybe the fourth Keepstar, fifth Keepstar in the area for Pappy. And I think this is probably something for the future because they're going to start to colonize this area if they can. I wanted to
look at the jump ranges.
Yeah, exactly. Jump ranges for super capitals. I usually just look at super caps. And yeah, you can see a lot of period basis is covered, and a lot of delve as well.
And delve too, right? The bottom section of delve.
And Aquarius. So I think this is a transfer point. This will probably be a lot of big chunk of delve. And Aquarius, just one system, so not much of Aquarius at all. And then finally, we'll see how much influence over period basis it is. It's probably a chunk.
I don't really know much about this, but if I see, having one system in Aquarius means you can make like a Keepstar chain, right? Depending on what that one system is. Do you know if that one system has a Keepstar already?
I think it does. Yeah.
Yeah. So if someone did some really good homework or maybe had done it in the past and we're just replicating it, who knows? But
H7, I think there is a Keepstar there. If not, there probably will be, but this will be a chain of Keepstars to pacify the area. I am sure that's what will happen later on. Yeah. So part of the incoming infrastructure. We talked to Billy today about like this area, and he didn't answer any questions except it was interesting. He made the point because I was asking, look, you're losing a lot of space over in legacy space. There's a lot of stuff coming down over there. It seems like you don't care about it. But if you burn all your ships behind you and all your troops are then made to fight on this new colony, and 1DQ can't be taken down, what's going to happen? And he's like, well, we'll lose. And that's kind of true. So, but I was asking, if 1DQ really can't be broken up, then how much can they harass the whole area? And his answer was basically like, the more we take down of theirs, the more structures, the more tethering opportunities, the more jump bridges and all that kind of stuff, the harder it is for them to harass. And the more we install and build to be able to move around quicker, the faster we can react to any harassment. So there is a tidal change going on. It takes a long time. And these Keepstars are part of that process of building a new infrastructure, which allow them to have the upper hand in Delve.
Yes. Yep. And that's what I, as a, just a general member, kind of, that's what I see. I don't get in on the planning, obviously, but I see what's happening, the way it's being presented to us. There's some new opportunities that are going to be happening for members of Legacy or Pappy in general. But the underlying tone of it is, look, it's not like we don't have neighbors who are like really, really close. There's some people upstairs who might be stomping on the floor a whole lot, and they're going to have to live with that, right? So head on the swivel. So I called it, old time Eve, right? Where, if you want to undock, you better be prepared to undock with a couple friends and really be watching scan and looking at your, the intel channels, and nothing's safe right now. So again, for me, PvP, exciting, right? And I think for the people that I play with, I think we're quite excited to be able to kind of have that opportunity. And I think the people on the other side are, a little bit excited because we could have just tried to hang on to everything and then literally waited to finish glassing all of Delve. But that's kind of not what's happening. So now this network and the kind of the move is happening, which means the move is happening while the Imperium is still close by, which means there's greater probability for fights and for the Imperium to do other things, which keeps them somewhat interested. Mm-hmm. Hopefully it's not like massive fun for them because, we ultimately do have a goal in the war. But at the same time, it gives us some other opportunities either for ourselves to harass, defend against harassment, and be closer to finish the final stages of the war, of whatever the victory conditions end up being, right?
Yeah, and on Sunday's show, we did have Billy on who said that victory conditions are whatever we decide they are, whenever we decide they are. So he's not giving anything away there. And that's a smart move. It's prudent not to give markers because markers then build interpretations. So if you don't do something fast enough, you're actually losing. It looks like a deficit. But I think in order not to have to deal with any of that pressure, they just say nothing. We'll decide when the war is over. To which Elise responded, well, when 1DQ is assaulted and if it's taken down, that might mark the end of the war for a lot of people who want to say get back to whatever it is they were doing. I think the counterpoint to Elise is like this seems to be one of those wars where it's almost like there is nothing else out there. I could be wrong, but it's not like you're going back to your farm after this because the whole landscape, I think, changes after this. I think the game mechanics will be different when this is all over. I think the whole scenario of owning space, the characteristics of why that's good or bad are changing right now. And all that needs to settle out for people to figure out what the new normal is after this, win or lose. A couple questions. Let's throw them out here. Dress Narrow says, do they need to take 1DQ? Could they just wait to get could they just wait for us to get bored and leave? I think he's with Pappy. I think we kind of answered that one.
Yeah, I think their heels are dug in. There's no wait for them to get bored and leave. Because, like I said, if the only people left, if only the people who are left are PvP people, then they're getting what they want and they're logging into content, right? And they have, look, there are a lot of people in Imperium, and there's a lot of people who love PvP. So it's still an enormous number of players. So you have to deal with that.
Yeah. So he was from Goonswarm. Dresses. Nice to meet you. I hope that answers your question. I think Rundle and I are probably on the same page in almost everything, but could they wait for them to get bored and leave? I think if you are surviving in 1DQ, it'll be hard to get bored because you're going to be like vigilant, right? You're not going to just relax. So if you're there, there'll probably be content for you to have. It's possible that, well, here's the thing. This game isn't perfect because even if you're stuck in 1DQ, you could just say, I'm going to do 6 months of farming in Placid or doing some missions in Poshman or whatever. You could play other things while you're stuck in 1DQ, basically. And the game hasn't stopped for you. Life hasn't stopped for you. So there's a huge valve there where you can find entertainment and then go back and take the fights you want to and delve when you're called to. So I don't see the situation as sitting there and getting bored, but I think in order to be removed, you have to remove the structures. So Pappy has to destroy the structures in order to remove Imperium. Otherwise, Imperium can just stay in the Keepstars as long as they want. All their Titans fit into those Keepstars. So there's really no reason to, there's no way to say that the war is even over until those assets, those deadly assets, are removed. There is no after war if you have 500 Titans in the middle of your territory, if your territory is, delve and if you're test. So war doesn't end until they're gone.
Yeah, and with the lessons of the last 2-3 months, I mean, you log in, 6,000 players accounts into 1DQ. You don't have to undock from the station. You just need to simply log them in and get the account up and running, and then 7,000, right? And you basically just lock up the system. And it's not like you have to jump anyone in. It's not like you have to undock to fight. You just log them in, and you basically kind of squash any activity coming into 1DQ because the game's going to prevent that. That's very real. I think very valuable strategy on their part. And you can wait out a lot of things if every threat can be squashed simply by hitting an alarm and having a lot of people log in.
Yeah, NCdot makes a lifestyle of it, right? It's the CTA, the CTA groups. Yep. They only come when they're called, and they only want to play with the big stuff. So don't call them for anything small. And
I think it's a totally acceptable, for me, I think it's a totally acceptable path for them to take. I think it's a totally acceptable strategy. It's within the bounds of the game, so have at it.
I kind of like Mute Paladin's comment here. It's part of the Cold War right now, like West and East Germany. Or I was thinking he said West and East Berlin, which is neat. It's like the city behind the lines kind of thing. Yeah. But anyway, the war will end at some point when a victory condition, I think, that would be fair to say is that the Keepstars are asset safetied back to Ermelin. And then the war transitions. Then you could just say Sov has been taken away. The immediate threat of the Imperium being able to retaliate has been removed, at least from the middle of Delve. And they're trapped in Ermelin, and maybe they make it from Ermelin to NPC Delve, and they start to harass from there. But that is a different phase of a war. That's a post-war.
Yeah.
Let's see. Any other questions here? Do you see any? I'm just...
No, I don't.
Yeah. All right. Well,
I wanted to keep her kind of short anyways, right? So
I wanted to do 10 minutes. So hard.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to remind you.
I keep trying to give value, right? Like, what? Let me think of everything I know so I can
45 minutes in, I got more to say.
Yeah. And every time I do this show, I want to like relax, but I feel like, I'm a sports announcer. I'm just constantly having to put out information and stuff. But yeah. All right. There was one last thing.
I have a question for you, right?
Okay,
Maybe you covered it already, right? You were going to go do this mining, mining competition.
Yeah.
How did that go for you?
It was pretty cool. So I went over to Damelin. That is a system near Heck. Actually, I'm going to bring it up because I want to show you guys where it was.
And you didn't cover this on Sunday, right? I don't think.
No, it was after Sunday that I did it.
So it was Sunday afternoon you did this.
Yeah, it was right after the show.
Okay, so yeah, let's hear how you did. Did you win?
No, definitely not.
So let's start there. Did you win? All right, so we are speaking to the non-winner of the mining competition, Matterall. Yeah. Tell us how it went for you.
I think there might have been 5 people in the competition, and I came in 6th. So that's how bad it was.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it was cool. I was in an Orca, and I used mining drone 2s. I put them out in a mining field that was created by, or actually an asteroid belt that was created by a moon frac. So that was cool. It's the first time I've actually mined moon materials in the new system. That's a long time ago. In fact, I think it's the first time I've ever seen a rock floating off that. I have some pictures of that. Let's see if I can find those. So I was a little bit surprised at how beautiful it was. It was really something. If you haven't seen it, it's really amazing.
What you mean, like for the moon mining operation where it pulls the big rock in and then it fractures it all up and that whole process?
Yep, that whole process.
That is actually the art department and the gaming art people at Eve CCP did really a fantastic job of that. I see why a lot of people kind of have this calm approach to it, because when they see that and they're just playing, it is beautiful. It's super nice.
I was surprised, but I had a bunch of pictures here somewhere, and I can't seem to locate them. But so I went with Damelin, and I was talking to the guys there. I'm fond of Khan, who's part of our team, and but I also met Comey that's there, and that's an interesting CSM candidate of last year. He's a baseliner, and if you don't know what a baseliner is in EVE Online, it's somebody that RPs hardcore. If you kill their character, if you pod their character, they will destroy their character permanently. Because a baseliner is somebody that is not a pod pilot. They're a normal human. And so his criteria for destroying that character is if he finally gets killed. Which is a neat way to play. It's kind of like hard mode. So whatever experiences you put on that character, they're gone when that character is podded. I think, so he was out there mining. And this isn't a call to go and kill him, by the way. So it'd be so
I was just going to say, like,
so
way to mark him. But
look, he ran for CSM with that character, saying it's a baseliner, so it's not.
Okay. Yeah. All right, you didn't do him a disservice then.
Yeah.
And I know Khan posted a bunch of stuff in the propaganda channel. Are those the pictures you were thinking about?
Yes, thanks. Thank you. I was like, what? So, there's so many pictures. I think
there's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's just take a laser here. There you go. Anyway, I was mining. It was a lot of fun. I was just talking to the guys. They're all very friendly, and they're all Dam Fam is the group that I was hanging out with. They're like faction warfare mining team, and they help Ashrakan, and they help faction war people, and that's kind of what they do. But I got the sense that they just kind of are like easy breezy, hang out, help each other out. They help each other out in that way where you're not really counting the pennies, you know? So if somebody needs a thing, they kind of give it to them. If they do business, they make money, they're all fine. But I feel like they're not counting the cents. They're not making sure that everything is, you know, the ledgers are exactly correct amongst themselves. And I kind of appreciate that you can get, I think one guy commented that he builds stuff all the time in the area, and he never has shortages where he can't have something because somebody always supplies the thing. So it's one of those situations where somebody always has what you're looking for, and they're always willing to give it to you. And that's what's different. Because I'm in all kinds of situations where somebody has a thing I need, but they don't necessarily want to give it to me, and I don't want to take it from them if it's not something they want to volunteer, etc. So that was what I took. But the larger point of that whole area is something's going on that's really exciting in Hamatar space, Minmatar space in general. I think that whole race and empire in Eve has really, I mean, it was always known, like, you know, if you want a PvP, you need to use Minmatar ships because those are the ones where they're faster, so you can dictate range better. They also can tank either way, shield or armor, so people don't know which way you're coming at them. And that was just reasons for using Minmatar stuff. But the Empire itself never really got that moment like Galente or Caldari. And of course, Amar always has like fanboys or whatever because they want to be part of the whole, you know, the upper class, not the lower class. So it always felt like Minmatar and Minmatar space and even Minmatar role players always kind of got like the they were never popular. They were never the thing. Metropolis was never like the place to be. Neither was Hamatar. And even Renz, you know, Renz to me is a classic. Here's Renz right here. I'll pop it up. That's a classic trade hub from a long time ago, 2007, 2009, 2010. That's when Renz was doing really well. It got overshadowed by Heck, which is actually in a different region. But Renz used to be the place, you know, where if you were doing business in Renz, that meant you were fighting out in like the South. And that was where AAA was and all these other groups that were tough. You were in AAA.
Yes, I was.
That's right. So you know Renz.
Yep.
So it just feels really cool to see like Minmatar space have its day. Like it feels like, oh, it's finally getting its due. People are finally like, I want to be in Minmatar space. It's not, you know, the genesis of EVE Online, the genesis being a region that nobody really goes to unless you're going to the Eve Gate to travel through. But I think it's really finally a popular place to be. There's some excitement there. The people who are there are proud to be there. It just feels like something's going on there.
Yep. Yeah, I remember the Renz area was always fun. I mean, and it's actually quite close to Heck. And so you could really kind of hit a double market.
Yeah, here's Heck.
That fed, right? That fed, you know, that Providence cache, the whole South, right? Reasonably close, even though Metropolis is, you know, kind of what I guess east, right? But overall, Heck and Renz are fairly close together. Just go up to like right up to Esther, I think, if I remember correctly, or something.
Yeah, Esther right
and then a couple jumps down, you're in Renz, and then, you know, down through Derelict, and then you're in Pravi and those sorts of areas.
Right.
Curse as well. Great wetlands. You get a lot of access to 0-0 in Derelict, and so it was like
Uplinger used to be a popular hub. Yeah, and this is not far from Amamaki. This triangle is Pandemic Legion's used to be their like weekend house where they'd go and just kill everything going in that area. And Amamaki has a Keepstar in it that belongs to some like affiliated Hydra PL guys, the Amamaki Police they call it. And they're essentially low sec, and they just roam this whole area because there's a lot of crossroads here from the Bleaklands, Metropolis, Synclaison, Devoid. This is a huge like cross point for multiple regions. So they kind of dominate that area. It's a lot of stuff that goes on in that area.
Yeah, and that Eggmar with that Gulermorgogo, whatever, that's a new link. Yeah, that's a new, no, up, just straight up. Two more. Oh, right almost in the middle on the left.
Here,
one more.
Oh, here.
Right there, yeah. Eggmar. That's a new link in the last, I say new, right? In the last 8 to 10 years, somewhere in there, about 8 years ago, they added that. And there's another one around here too that caused some linkages. And it changed. That's where like Green Monster, what are those, the Green Machine or whatever those guys are.
You're not thinking of Siege Green, are you?
Siege Green, yes, sorry, that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah,
Yes,
Korean group.
Yep. Yeah, they really kind of came in there, and there's a couple linkages to the systems between Hemitar and Mimitar that changed how you can flow and fight in that area. And it kind of created a better interconnected low-sec space in there. And so by adding just a couple new gates, and that's the one I always remember, there's another one in this area somewhere, I think that changed that region of space. Anamaki was pretty kind of isolated in a low sec space sort of sense, but now you have this Eggmar way you can come in and through Devoid and Bleaklands. It just changed the ebb and flow of that whole area. I have some of my alts down in that area. I did a lot of low sec PI and manufacturing, and literally I wasn't paying attention. I log in, wasn't playing a lot on those. I was mostly on my PvP character. And literally overnight, I log in and like, who are all these people? What is going on? And I had all the PI, I had the customs offices, I had this and that. And like within a month, like my world changed. I'm like, what the hell just happened? Yeah, darn,
Wow.
whoops. Yeah, so
was that recently or was that a long time ago?
No, that's like 8 years ago, somewhere in there.
Yeah, so they flipped it up on you.
Yeah, they sure did. Yeah, and I wasn't paying attention to the patch notes or something, or I missed something, and then.
It's probably Amamaki must have been just a terrible choke point. That's probably why it was popular.
It. Yeah, I never went that way. I always went other ways up. To get my stuff, I always went up through basically ultimately to Heck and then around to Renz. I would never Interceptor maybe to run over to Renz to get a couple things here and there, but Anamaki the gate camp on there, it was just a constant to that Soger. I mean, if there wasn't a smart bombing battleship, the only reason there wasn't one was because there was 2 or 3. I mean, it was just nonstop. Yeah.
Yeah. Rumor is that Keepstar Amamaki is one of the last ones in low sec. Actually, Fraternity put down a Keepstar in low sec up in the north, but this Amamaki one's been here a little while. Rumor is that I think there's actually a new market that's opened up inside of Amamaki by New Eden Trade, who is a trader who's putting up different trade hubs all over EVE Online. All over the New Eden map. But he's put one up in Amamaki, the actual station there. He's got a market. He'll run it, manage it, probably share profits with the owners of the Keepstar. The trouble is, I think there's a shark in the water in this area because this is not far from Basgarin, right? Mm-hmm. So we've seen Basgarin Keepstar get destroyed by Snuff. We've seen Ignite and Keepstar get destroyed by Snuff. And I think they're probably eyeing this one. But I'm not sure if there's a deal or something. And remember, if you have a deal with Snuff, it doesn't mean much because they can rip up a deal at any time.
Yeah. I have no problems doing it.
So is a Keepstar in Secede and Kamal? I didn't know that. If there was one in Secede, it's right here. So even more fuel for a fire if that's true. Yeah. All right. That is everything that we have today. Thanks for asking about the mining. I forget who won the mining, but I think Khan got second place because he started late. He had real life stuff to do. Somebody had been mining since downtime, and I mean, they're super dedicated. They love, it's funny because these guys actually love to mine. I think there are other players like that too. They love to mine. We've seen it in the comments from videos. There are players that love to mine in this game. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you had fun.
Araya, I was saying earlier that I ranked number 6 out of a 1 to 5 scale, so not very well. I think at one point my Orca was flying off into some direction. I was 80 kilometers away from. I was looking at that moon rock, and I turn around and my drones are like, it's like cats I left behind at home when I drove off without them because I was 80 kilometers away from my drones, and I had to like warp off and reconnect to them when I got back. So that was kind of funny.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, it was. I'm getting reacquainted with the mechanics. Let's put it that way. And I intend to do more stuff. So check in with me about other things as well.
All right.
That's like,
it was a good training day. Good training day. You learned something.
As I learned this game all over again.
Yeah.
All right. There's one last thing, and that is we were looking at some of the stuff that's coming by looking at the database on the test server. And apparently there is spectator stands for proving grounds. So what that tells us is maybe there's going to be a way to spectate proving ground matches. Those are like gladiator pits, right? Where two champions go in and duke it out with a ring around them that doesn't let them out until one of them dies, or something times out probably. But nobody can really see that unless somebody's streaming it. So this might be CCP's way of making that kind of gameplay available to people, for people to spectate.
That would be neat.
Yeah.
I hope they don't do the the walking around in stations promises. Maybe just dock your ship and get a viewport sort of thing. But
no telling what this looks. No telling what this looks like. But it's already in the code. It's already on the test server. We just don't know how it works. We just know what it's called. I doubt it's just decorative, but maybe.
Oh.
We shall see. We were thinking. Oh, we were thinking once you.
The other thing. Okay. Yeah.
Go ahead. I think my internet.
Oh no, you were cutting out a little bit there. Sorry. No, sorry, you were cutting out. So I was trying to cover.
Yeah. Good. No, good cover. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. No. What I was going to say is, it reminded me though. By the way, tomorrow is Patch Day in Eve, so we should probably take a second to remind all listeners. Big patch coming. This is where the fleet formation stuff's coming, and the new player. And I just forgot the name. The where you can kind of rent the skill set packs. That's coming tomorrow. Expert system. Thank you. That's all coming tomorrow. So dock up where you can. Standard patch day. For me, anyways, I always give the standard patch day. Comment. Make sure you have your skill queues full. If you're an alpha, do the best you can to get a nice long, training slot running. Omegas, do all the right things you need to do to get your clones or whatever you need to be. Because, funny things happen sometimes on patch day. Extended downtime, I think area, yes, I think that's what they said, an extra bit of time tomorrow.
Yeah, makes sense. So those are huge changes. You're going to see fleet formations come into the game. That is a game changer for people to know how to use them. And there are going to be a lot of clumsy mistakes with them for a long time until people get really good at them. And then that will distinguish good FCs from less practiced FCs. The other thing is a new Sino unit it's a deployable Sino is coming in. So you're going to see travel change. It's going to be a big difference. Those will come in tomorrow as well.
Yep. So just wanted to make sure we mentioned that.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. I totally spaced it, and it was a big announcement. So tomorrow, patch day. All right, cool.
Maybe we'll have tomorrow's night show. We'll have a few things to talk about on top of that. Maybe a few people have had already a chance to try some of these things. Or maybe we won't be able to play it all, and who knows what's happening.
Yeah, maybe we'll be locked out for a while. All right, so as always, if you want to look at some of these pictures inside the Eve propaganda, AustreaCon put down a bunch of pictures of the mining competition and how beautiful some of the stuff is in space there. You can see that, again, Eve propaganda channel on TIS Discord.
Very nice pictures. I urge you to come look.
Also,
come join and watch.
There you go, if you want to join our Discord. Also, if you want to get our Eve in-game newspaper. Subscribe to the mailing list, TIS News. And we have a free paper that goes out every day, just wrapping up the news. It's not this news. This is like meta news and all kinds of news from everything. The news that you get in your newspaper is in-game news linked to in-game names, corporations, items. So it feels a little more like it's news from New Eden rather than from Talking in Stations. So you can check that out as well. Again, that is the mailing list. Use your email client in the game. Bottom left is a button saying add mailing list. Click on that and then add TIS space news. Yeah, and right now, if you have, if you like this kind of programming that we bring you every day, please subscribe to Talking in Stations here on Twitch with your whatever Prime account, if that's okay. Otherwise, don't worry about it. But give us like upvotes if you're listening to the podcast so that more people can discover it. And also you can go to, if you want to support the overall effort, the news writing, the content creation that we do, and even the Discord that we have to moderate and, keep going and everything, please become a patron at patreon.com. That's patreon.com/Matterall. I would appreciate that very much. And I want to say thanks and hi to all the people who already support us. Really appreciate all your help. And thank you, Nick. That's really cool. It's not the first time he's done that like this week. He's going crazy.
Excellent.
Yeah. And thank you, Rundle, and thank the staff for being around. I am Matterall, and this is Rundle. Do you have anything else?
Nope. Just have fun.
All right. We will see you guys tomorrow on Talking in Stations.